So Tiffany dot Tiffy asked ingredients to avoid and tips on nutrition when traveling. Okay, let's tackle the first one. Ingredients to avoid. Well, I don't think that there's any ingredient that is like needs to be avoided at all costs. I think this is going to be highly personal. And the dose is going to make the poison with pretty much everything. Obviously, if you have a sensitivity to a certain ingredient, you're going to want to avoid that, right? But what I tend to avoid primarily, I mean, big no-nos for me are trans fats, which are not actually super common these days, thankfully, because the FDA banned their most common form, which were in partially hydrogenated oils, which are no longer really, on the market. So that's not really much of an issue anymore. I also tend to avoid lots of added sugar, and I also tend to avoid excessive ultra-processed seed oils. Like that's something that I generally will try to avoid, with the asterisk, the very important asterisk, being that a little bit of any of this stuff won't kill you. So I want you guys to think big picture. I know there are a lot of influencers right now on social media that will, every day they're picking off a new ingredient to fearmonger. And I think it's really important not to fear food, not to live in fear, not to stress yourself out about this stuff. And to just, again, when in doubt, make sure that the bulk of your diet is comprised primarily of minimally processed whole foods. It's the ultra-processed foods primarily that we want to minimize in our diet. And also to know that even in the bucket of ultra-processed foods, some are likely better than others. I mean, I eat ultra-processed Quest protein chips, most nights before bed while I'm watching Netflix because it's a way to, just jack up my protein a little further. And so those are ultra-processed foods. There's no doubt about that. And I think that some of them even contain a gram or two of vegetable oil, but it's such a small dose that it's like not something that I really even think about because the rest of my diet is devoid of vegetable oils. So you got to think in terms of dose. Dose makes the poison with most things, maybe not all things, but generally dose is going to make the poison. And so, there's no ingredient that's, I think, inherently evil other than artificially produced trans fats. And so you just want to be kind of, mindful of that, I suppose. And then Tiffany also asked another question, tips on nutrition when traveling. That's a great question. I've got actually a bunch of travel coming up. And so it's something that I'm going to be thinking more about. But generally, I always like to travel with snacks. Like if you were to open up my backpack whenever I'm on the road, it's packed with snacks, whether we're talking Built Puffs, protein bars, no affiliation, or beef jerky. I like to travel with easily accessible sources of high quality protein. I think that's important because sometimes hitting your protein target when on the road can be difficult. And I also really like to travel with whole fruit. It's satiating. It's going to scratch that itch. If I feel like I've got a craving for something sweet, having a Honeycrisp apple in my backpack, always appreciated. I love that. And then when it comes to finding food, once you're situated, but out of your home, I love to I prioritize places where I know that I can get grilled meat, like steak, like, lean cuts of meat, like New York strip steaks or, tenderloin, like fillets, like Outback Steakhouse. I mean, you could pretty much find an Outback in every major city, even non-major cities, and like really easy place to go and get healthy food. I generally will, I'll get a grilled meat of some sort. It is usually going to be red meat. And then I try to, in terms of vegetables, what do I do? The vegetables actually, ironically, I mean, everybody's always like, eat more fruits and vegetables. But when you're out on the road, eating vegetables can be a major Trojan horse for, lots of added fat calories. Because in restaurants, vegetables are usually doused in oil. And that can be really tricky. So sometimes I'll get like, I'll order salads and I'll just ask for some like vinegar on the side, like not vinaigrette. I'll skip the house salad dressing often, but not always. I'll skip the house dressing and I'll just ask for some like balsamic vinegar on the side. And I'll just, use that with some salt and pepper on my salad. And then I'll just know that, I'm getting plenty of fat from the steak that I'm having. So I don't need additional fat calories in the salad. And that's a really easy way to just sort of economize where calories are concerned. I also will occasionally travel with protein shakes. There's a company, I have no affiliation with Ascent, but they like if you find a Whole Foods, sometimes I'll like just go to Whole Foods and I'll buy these like Ascent protein powder packets that are single serve, and I'll just like mix one of those up in my hotel room if I've got like a craving. But yeah, it's generally for me not that hard. I've got it down to a science. Like when I travel, super easy to accommodate. Hey, if you like that video, you need to check out this one here, and I'll see you there.